dude, like I just felt like a kook. I had like no social skills. I didn't know how to like make friends really. I didn't realize how out of my league I was like until I really was trying to do it, because I was just wearing the wrong shit right off the bat.
Unleashed with the Dingo and Danny, fueled by Monster Energy.
What's up, dude?
I'm chilling, man. What's up with you guys?
Clayton Vila. I'd say that he basically he's probably the best dressed so far.
Definitely the most swag, for sure.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you know what's cool is I've actually hung out, like Clayton's been to my office, and he's like an LA guy, and he's actually super fucking talented. Not just on his skis, which he doesn't. Do you get on your skis that much anymore?
Yeah, I'm still on the skis, but it's a fair question. Yeah, man, not nearly as much I used to, you know. I mean, I'm a street guy, so like you don't ski a lot when you're a street guy in general, you know. You kind of pick your battles, I guess, is the best way to put it. So, you know, I never really spent a lot of time on mountains in general, nor do I honestly love ski mountains that much. So I pick my battles a little bit more now. But yeah, you know, I get up to Mammoth a good amount in the winter. I go to Bear, and I always try to make sure to, you know, be hitting the streets once in a while.
Did you even have a local mountain? I mean, he grew up on an island in Rhode Island.
Yeah, so no, I definitely.
I'm so confused. Rhode Island is a state. Is it an island also?
No, he grew up on an island in Rhode Island.
Yeah, it's like the kookiest thing to explain to people. It's such a pain.
Explain it to Danny.
Yeah,
we lost.
I've driven through Rhode Island, and I was like, "That's not an island. I didn't even get across a bridge."
There's really no reason to go to Rhode Island, and then there's really no reason to go to Block Island. But it's called Block Island, Rhode Island, and it's 7 miles long, 3 miles wide. I got my whole little spiel, and it's an hour boat ride to get there. So it's like a real deal island. When I grew up there was like 900 year-round residents. I think there's maybe 1,000 now. So my school was like 140 kids, kindergarten through 12th grade, and like this building is like the size of the school, you know, like. So yeah, it's a weird place to grow up, but it's really dope sometimes. There's really good waves, and you know, there's stuff. I mean, it's a beautiful place, but it's quiet. It's super quiet. So it's a weird upbringing for sure.
It's basically like growing up. He grew up in Tasmania.
Really?
Tasmania is like an island of Australia.
Is that the same kind of vibe?
I mean, it's a little bigger.
Yeah,
but pretty much.
We're small. Like if you're like cruising, like you hit the ocean 10 times out of 10. Like within 20 minutes, you run out of island like pretty quickly, you know. So
like growing up as a kid on an island, like did you ever get like island fever?
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, I would say look, you know, I obviously became a pro skier, and like that was super random and kind of unexpected, but I mean, I wanted to be a pro something, you know. That's what I would say to my parents. I was just like, you know, I'm sure like all of us, right? I was skating and surfing as much as I could. That was just what was up, you know, with my like couple of friends who did that, and like mainly kind of skating when I was really young, and then, you know, it's hard to start surfing until you're like 7, 8 or whatever, so you don't just drown, at least. Like
it's really hard.
Yeah,
we nearly drowned in Hawaii once.
Mm-hmm. I just started surfing really like almost 3 years ago. That was it. Yeah, and I grew up around water.
Are you falling in love with it? It's actually like that, but you know, it just sounds.
Yeah, definitely like falling in love with like the feeling of just like that 5-second ride, right? And it like brings, I don't know, it's weird how like time can almost stand still in a little bit for it.
Dude, it's like,
and how hard it is, because it's like I take the gnarliest tumbles now, and it reminds me of like backcountry slams or something, because you're just like underwater, like tumbling. You don't really know where you are until you spit the sand out of your mouth.
Yeah, no, I mean, surfing is like, I mean, I it's still like the thing I love the most. And, you know, I grew up on a beach. So, yeah, you got to understand the ocean. That takes a while. I'm the worst surf coach, I always say, because, you know, I mean, it's just a weird thing to figure out, you know, but I love it. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, back to the island thing. I mean, that's what I was really doing. And yeah, I mean, I watched like, you know, I had my handful of VHS tapes of like, you know, I was watching, you know, I had Modus Operandi, Sight Unseen, like, you know, like Greg Hunt and Ty Evans, like Trans World movies, you know, I had like the 411 videos, like, you know, I would go out to a surf shop, like off island, like a couple of times we'd get off, and I'd like buy whatever was there, you know, and there would be like Volcom's movies, like Creepy Fingers, like Bruce Irons, like those guys, those were my heroes, you know. So, and like, and me and my couple of homies were like, we had like a little squad. It was me and like two other dudes who were like, you know, surfing and skating as much as we could, you know. So I was always my parents, like I was good at all of it, and like my parents could tell, you know. And I was like always, you know, mad competitive with my friends and trying to be better. You know, you're just that kid. You know, we all know what it's like to be that kid, right?
You guys were like the gang on the island.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, there was like it was kind of rad because we had like the like kind of Godfather surf crowd, but there was a bit of a gap. So like we didn't really like, you know, I mean, everyone knows everybody, but you know, we were just like the only little squad of like, you know, like 12-year-old kids. And we were really starting to like go out and surf, and it was like big, and like, you know, like 6 dudes who've been like, you know, surfing out here and all chapped and like salty, or, you know, or
was
like,
it like a full-on locals only? Like, would people come from up? Would people didn't come, huh?
Yeah, people are. Yeah, no, there's. I mean, look. I mean, to be honest, like the waves are very fickle there. Like
Yeah.
it's the Atlantic. You know, it's like when it's flat, like real deal flat. It's a lake. You know, it's not like the Pacific where it's flat and it's like 2 to 3. You know,
Yeah.
It's like there's always a groundswell in the Pacific. There's nothing a lot of the time. So, you know, it's like hurricane season, whenever it turns on. Yeah, some people show up, but like just the winter, it's just like a handful of dudes. And like, you're like 6'5'4", winter surfing, you know, like thick wetsuits, like Vaseline in the face sometimes. Like
Sharks?
Yeah, I mean, the sharks everywhere, but no, there's never been like a shark attack or something, you know?
Isn't that crazy though? Sharks are everywhere. I used to have a house in Malibu, and Danny would. I'd never seen a shark out front of my house.
Really?
Danny would go paddleboarding. He'd go up this rock. Every time he paddleboarded out, he saw sharks.
Yeah.
Dude, I was surrounded by like 3 or 4 of them. And I'd come in and be like, "Hey, Dingo, I just saw like 3 or 4 sharks." Like, no, you didn't. I'm like, well, dude, they were like this fat around and only like that long.
Where is this?
That's a shark.
Malibu.
Oh yeah, the baby great whites are always
And
there,
then-
man.
Yeah,
I've seen more sharks here for
They
sure
call
than
them the
Block
gray
Island.
suits. Yeah, I've only seen sharks in like the tropical. I've never. I had one experience where I was out surfing with Trevor Jacobs actually. And
Yeah, I know Trevor.
North Malibu, and there's a little takeoff rock out the front of his place that we always used to hang out, and I'll never forget it. All of a sudden, everything went dead silent. You're out in the ocean, no birds, no like, just dead silent. It was murky water, and it was just that dead silence, and it was like a cloudy day and murky water, and we both just kind of like looked at each other, and he's like, "Should we paddle in?" And not like, "Oh, we'll wait for the next wave and go in." I just nodded, and we both just paddled straight.
You got sharked out. It's a thing.
Dude, it's fucking real.
Dude, sharked out. That's what it is, man. It's a weird thing for sure.
Dude, so all right, going up on an island, how where there's obviously no, and Rhode Island, there's not many mountains around there. When did you first put on a pair of ski boots?
Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of why I was saying about how I was like, you know, I was skating and surfing. That was my thing. But like, you know, neither of my parents surfed or skated. Like, you know, nobody's parents for our generation did, right? For the most part, at least. I didn't grow up in SoCal, let's put it that way, right? Nobody in Rhode Island did. Certainly
Did your
not
dad
my...
surf, Danny?
No, I mean, my dad had like a ski style, but he wasn't like a real, he didn't really go for it too hard. And then he started to snowboard and followed us through the park and ended up breaking his leg.
Oh.
And then he was like, "I'm not doing this anymore."
Yeah.
Danny's dad was like classic, like bottom of the pipe with like the old school like camera.
Sick.
Uh-huh.
Dad cam.
Dad cam.
Yeah.
Dope. Yeah, but yeah, anyway, I mean, my dad skied. So basically what I'm like getting at is that the only thing he got, like, they backed me. They're like, this kid's dope or whatever. Like, he clearly like knows what he's doing on all these, like, all the toys he touches. He's like got it figured out, you know, and like has fun with it. And like he keeps barking at us and I'm gonna be a pro, whatever. I don't care what it was.
Where did that drive come from? Was that just drive to get off the island, or you just wanted to be
I don't know
pro at something?
No, it wasn't like get off the island. I mean, I loved that place. I was scared as hell to leave. I mean, I just had like my two buddies, you know, like I don't know. I just like, I saw those movies and it was just so obvious, you know. I was like, I need to be that. Like,
where are your buddies now? Are they still your homies?
Yeah, for sure. Like I keep, you know, dude, that's my family, you know. I don't have a big family. All that, it's a weird thing. Like, you know, if you move out to Block Island, like, you know, I don't know what's going on with that still. Like, you know, for our parents, I mean, like, you know, in the 70s, there was like 400 people there and they just moved out there. So they don't have big families usually. It's like the Island of Misfit Toys, everyone always calls it. So like, you know, I don't have a big family, but I've got a lot of friends out there and like, those are my people, you know, so we definitely keep in touch for sure. But yeah, to answer the question about the skiing thing, I mean, my dad, like, he just knew how to ski and he was like, he ripped. He's just like skier dad guy, you know? And so he would take us to Sunday River for like a weekend or two a year up in Maine. And he also, like, every like other year or so, I would say, he would bring us to Colorado to Crested Butte. For low key, for some reason, he loved Crested Butte and just like knew about that zone, which was like, I would have like a week there a year and I'd just be like, I'm gonna go so hard, you know. It's like just like my like X Games every year to me or whatever, you know. And like I always wanted to snowboard. Like I grew up watching you, man, and like it's, you know, like I was watching snowboarding and obviously like being a skater and surfer, whatever, that was like the natural thing. But like at a certain point, as I got older, I actually started to get pretty anxious and just be like, yo, like for real, like I want to be a pro something. Like, what am I going to be able to do, you know? And they're like, we don't get surfing. Like, we don't really know what to do with that. Like, you know, we're not going to move to like Hawaii or something, you know, for you. Like, we have a life, you know? And
they're like, that island's too big.
And that island's huge. Why would we go to that island?
Yeah. It's like, we picked our island. Like, this is the one. And I don't know, skating, whatever. They just didn't know what to do with those two things. My dad was like, look, I can tell. I think it's more like he could tell I was a good skier because he skied, you know? And he's like, all right, I have a gauge to say that you're like stand out at this. So like I can try to pull something together. And we had a friend who on the island who worked for, I think she was a tutor for like a year or something. There's some tie where she was at the Waterville Valley Academy. And so...
Who went there? Pat Moore went there, right?
Yeah, Pat Moore. Scotty
Moore.
Lego, maybe?
Yeah, I just know Pat Moore.
Okay.
Because, yeah, he would show up every once in a while. We'd be like, yeah, it's Pat Moore. Who's like, I became a street
and his
guy.
mom worked
I'm
there,
a huge
right?
Pat Moore fan.
We used to make fun of him. We love Pat.
Nice. But yeah, I mean, anyway, basically that was it. It was just like, you know, at that point I was like, you know.
And how old were you when you went to the academy in New Hampshire?
I went for the first year when I was 13 for a month. And so, yeah, like I said, at that point I was like, fuck it. Like skiing, sure. You know, and I did not like, I didn't even have a like ski movie. I don't think I wasn't a ski fan at all. Like
really?
I did not even necessarily think it was that dope. I just thought anything was dope because I was young and I was like, cool, action sport. I have a chance to be a pro. Like I'll do it, you know? And the other thing I guess I'm missing that I didn't tie in is I had air sense. Like I was always doing flips off the dunes. Like I had a trampoline, you know, and I like could spin both ways
kind of
and
helps
whatever.
out, eh?
Yeah. So like it was kind of
I sucked on trampolines.
Yeah, it made sense to me and, you know, whatever, parents and that like, all right, like if he can take his ski skills and get those tricks on trampoline and put them together, that should work, you know? And I was like, whatever, thumb down, you know, let's try it. Like, so I just kind of forced the issue, I guess.
How was that transition leaving the island to go to academy?
Dude, I cried like a bitch, like so bad. Like on the first time I left on the ferry boat, I was so scared.
Really?
Think about how dramatic that is.
It's like
literally a ferry boat. Like get on the boat. See you later, 13-year-old kid. And I was like, yo, like I don't know, to go do some shit that like I don't really even like I have like any idea what I'm getting into, you know? Like the like.
You have siblings?
I have a sister. Yeah.
Yeah, older, younger.
1 year older.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
we're youngest. It's good to be younger.
Yeah. They get to practice on the first one, right?
100%.
Yeah, for real.
13. So what grade was that? Was that going into high school?
Yeah, that's 8th grade, I guess. And I went for a month to like try it out for the first month, and I hated it, and I sucked at it also, like for real. Like I'm not like just being humble.
You sucked
I
at
mean,
skiing
like,
or you sucked at school?
yeah, I sucked. Yeah, I mean, I sucked at skiing like specific. Like it wasn't like ooh, it clicked, you know? No.
What year was this?
So this is shit. I'm trying to do math now. I graduated high school in 2009, so call it 2000, whatever, 2000.
So who are the biggest free skis at that point? Like Tanner Hall?
Yeah, it was like Tanner Hall, Candide.
Yeah.
Those two. I didn't even really know that. You know, like I started like researching those people. Like once I like was like, I guess I'm gonna be a pro skier or try to be a pro skier. You know.
Yeah.
But I basically went the first month, and I was like, dude, like I just felt like a kook. I had like no social skills. I didn't know how to like make friends really. I like. You know, I didn't realize how out of my league I was, like, until I really was trying to do it, because I was just wearing the wrong shit right off the bat. You know, like the first day I showed up.
But you probably weren't. You probably were like.
No, I think I was. Like,
what were you wearing?
I don't know. Like, you know, I'm just saying, like, when I rolled up the first day, I don't remember, but like, I was like, fuck, like all these guys like know what's up and I do not. And like, and also like, you know, sure I had like talent, but like, yeah. And then immediately I'm watching like, you know, there was like this dude, Mike Clark, who I still spend time with. He was a pro skier for a number of years and actually became a filmmaker, so we keep in touch. But he was the kid there who was like gonna be pro, you know. He was like 16 and nice, and he was doing like switch 10 blunt like in his sleep, you know. And I was just like like I'm like scared to jump. Like I don't even know how to speed check a jump. Like my bindings are like the wrong, you know, like my coaches were like, dude, like those aren't gonna work like first day, you know. It was embarrassing. It was hard for me, you know. And I kind of left my tail between my legs. So I was like, I don't think I'm gonna go back, you know. Like I got home to my friends and I was back to like cozy comfort
comfort
island
zone,
you know?
Island life.
Yeah, bro. And I'm just surfing and being mediocre at surfing, and then you know, as much as I hated being there every day, but then I got home for like a couple months, 3-4 months later, I remember being like, maybe I'm just being a pussy. Like maybe I should fight through this and like really give this a shot. Like I do have this opportunity. My parents are backing me. Like I can go back, you know. But it was a test run, because then the next year I would actually, that's when I started. I think I went like 2 months every year for like a couple years after that, and then like 3 months for the last year.
It's kind of crazy, right? Because as like a young kid, leaving everything you've ever known, your family, your friends, this tiny little island, your own little world, it's people who don't realize the sacrifice you're actually making at that young age, you know. And if older you could be like, no, you're gonna fucking do it, but like that actual leap to do it, it's like takes a lot of balls and a lot of sacrifice. Most people that age, and I think we're all kind of in the same boat of the way that we grow up in action sports and how we all kind of sacrifice to go do what we love, but in return you kind of like, you know, I never went to a prom, or I never like all these things that like regular kids do.
Not that I would have. There wasn't prom.
100%, but like it's these regular things that you do, or as kids do in regular life, that like, you know, that
and
the bond we all kind of have is kind of similar in that. Because I was kind of the same, man. I was like 14 when I came from Australia. I left everything I ever known, you know what I mean? Like I was like, you know, sleeping in weird areas, and like,
were you scared too?
Crying,
like,
dude. I used to like lock myself in the bathroom and cry because I didn't know who to go to, or these things, you know. Or it's like,
right.
But at that time, the sacrifices you're making is what set us up to all be sitting here right now.
Yeah,
you know, and it's opened us up into this big world, and you know, it's I think a lot of us maybe aren't the most book smart people, but the what we learn in the real world has set us up for who we are today, you know.
Yeah, in hindsight, you're like, oh yeah, like, you know, when you tell people like that's so cool, and you're like, it was not cool in the moment, you know. Like I wasn't like, this is what's cool. It's like actually the opposite. You're like, I'm just gonna go, yeah, like you said, prom or all those things that are cool, right, at that moment.
You know, that's
cool to an adult, but you're trying to think like an adult when you're 13, and it's like
100%. And this is pre like cell phones were just a thing. There weren't iPhones.
Yeah, I didn't know. I was up there making landline calls to mom. Like, I don't want to be here. Like, yeah.
Isn't that crazy though? It's just like you've gone to the unknown, and yeah, it's a landline. There's no cell phone. There's no direct connection. I don't even think there may have been email. I don't know.
Here's a trip on Block Island. We only have 4 digits, so we have to remember. because there's like an area code. It's 41466, your homie's number.
No way.
Tim Buell, my homie who I surfed with, like one of those two homies, 5012. Remember,
Let's call
still,
him right
you
now.
know?
Yeah, hasn't changed.
Yeah, his house gone, but yeah, no,
It's
straight
gone?
up, it's like, no, it's not like a crazy story. I just mean that wouldn't work. We actually wanted to do it right now, but it's just, anyway, you're right. Times were different then, and yeah, you're actually going somewhere if you were going somewhere, right? Like you're putting yourself out there. Was that similar for you? I mean, because you went to OMS, right?
Yeah, I did like to
He got kicked out.
No, I didn't. That was everyone else.
He got kicked out of Stratton
I
Mountain.
didn't. I got kicked off the snowboard team at the very end of the year.
Danny was a bad kid.
Nice.
No, I wasn't. But no, I have this. Yeah, I mean, same memory. It was like where it was like saying goodbye to my mom for the winter, and like it was tough. It was like, okay, I'll see you in like 3 or 4 months. You know, at 16, like, all right.
Yeah.
And like, and I do actually one of the first memories I have is watching like a Tanner Hall ski video because I was rooming with 2 mogul skiers at the time. And it was like, whoa, this is really cool. Like this little dude, Tanner Hall, kicks ass, man. Like this is pretty cool because there was a lot of rail stuff I remember watching.
Yeah, no, he was.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sick.
And that's what I was
sick to hear.
wondering too. Like when you were going there, were you just like focused on freestyle at that time, or was it like racing a part of it as well, full rounded?
Well,
training?
I think that's probably where I was just trying to make my own thing out of it, which I think ended up like turning into, making me the skier I became, I guess, because like I said, I wasn't like, oh, I don't. People come from different angles. Some people, like some pros are like I know my homie Henrik Harlow, like he's like an encyclopedia of every ski movie ever, and that's like the way he's like,
cool. I like him.
He's like the Quentin Tarantino of skiing, if there were to be like a way to go about it. You know what I mean?
Good
Like
reference right there.
Well, think about it. Like someone like Tarantino just knows every single movie ever, so he loved movies so much that he was able to make his own thing out of it.
Have you ever been to Tarantino's movie theater in LA?
No, I haven't, but I wanted. It's sick.
What's its name?
Sounds sick.
I don't know what it's called. It's on Wilshire.
Yeah.
He like bought an old movie. Isn't he about to do his last movie? Didn't he say 10 movies?
Yeah, that's what he says. I don't know. I mean, I would be the wrong guy to inquire about what his plan is, but that's what he says. Yeah, that's what I've heard.
We're talking to Phil. We'll talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
filmmaking later.
We'll get there. But
I want to know. Yeah,
my analogy of that is just to say that like Henrik is like knows all about skiing, and he like that's where it came from. I just knew nothing, and I almost started to use that to my advantage. I think there's.
What was your
at least have
first
something to
competition?
say. Just like those tiny competitions up. I can't think of exactly what it
But
was.
what was it? Was it like big air, freestyle, super pipe?
It was probably big air, because that's like just what people. Yeah, you
like you
never
never did like a John slalom or anything like that.
No, I never did racing or any of that. I mean, I went up there to just be like, I want to. I think that's where I started on that tangent. Like, I want to hit rails and like jumps and like feel like I'm skating, or doing the sports I like, or obviously that was snowboarding for sure, which I watched more of as a kid. But yeah, same as you, I think that's when I started to see like T Hall and like Candide and those guys in a couple of the Poor Boys movies and the Poor Boys productions, and that's when I was like, oh, all right, word, like people are on the right track, like this looks like it has a future. I didn't honestly, like, it's almost like hesitant to say it, but I didn't honestly see it and be like, this is so sick, I was like, word, all right, this could be sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was probably just young, like being like overconfident when you're younger, but there's almost a little bit of like, oh, like if this could be sick in 5 years if people keep doing this,
Right. How did did you graduate? Did you graduate from Waterville Valley?
Yeah, well, I mean, I still graduated from Block Island School because I was like...
Oh, you were going backwards and forwards?
Yeah, so my thing was like I homeschooled on Block Island, and then that would allow me... I did kind of a makeshift version of it where they let me homeschool, so I would stay at my, like, whatever. I would just go up there. They would tutor me through whatever, like, the, work that I was doing in my homeschool curriculum, and then I'd go home and graduate from there. Yeah.
Yep.
So I still graduated from Block Island School.
But then you became a competitive skier, right?
Yeah, so at that I started competing in half pipe mainly when I was like doing that program.
Yep.
That was like the thing that I was actually like excelling at the most, and I just thought it was like the probably again closest to skating or whatever. I think half pipe's like the illest shit still to this day. It's just like a gauntlet. It's literally a gladiator zone. I think it's so ill. And
It is. It's just like you said, like skating but you get like a whole run, right? So you're just like cramming in
And
so much air and tricks and, you know, and style within, you know, freaking 400 feet.
Yeah.
And you can just unstrap and hike back up, which is pretty cool too.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm like kind of traditional. Honestly, I like regulation. You know, like I love that it's just like, here's a half pipe again, you know, this year, again, it's just a half pipe. Like who's up, you know, it's just like a boxing match or something, you know, like boxing is still boxing. Who's going to win? You know, like put him in there.
When did skiers start going switch into the half pipe? That must have been pretty fucking scary.
That was honestly like to the tail end of when I was doing it. I wasn't doing a lot of that. That shit was, Tanner Hall actually was the one who started doing that, like for real in a run. But yeah, I mean, I definitely did do switch hits, but that's like, I wasn't doing like switch doubles or the crazy shit that people are doing now.
That's actually
nuts.
a question kind of for both of you guys, actually, like the progression on where it's at now. Are you guys thankful that like you didn't have to like do that?
That's better for him because he was like a professional. I clearly feel that way. Like I was like, yeah, I'm tapping out.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like, you know, there's definitely been a few golden periods for sure in snowboarding half pipe and same with ski half pipe, you know, because I've definitely remember, you know, like the height of kind of my generation in a sense of like competing up until like almost like 2010, 12, but like when Tanner and Simon and Candide started with the X Games and just like getting to like really watch them ride the same pipe we were riding was like such an explosive level because it was really pushing amplitude and style really hard. You know, there was definitely the technical side, which I pushed, you know, pretty hard as well, doing back-to-back tens and like keep pushing spins and
first person to do back-to-back tens, right?
Yeah,
you
I
were
believe
at
so.
the US Open?
Yeah.
Heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what'd you come in? You come in switch, cab 10, front 10, or was it front 10, cab 10?
I think I did first. It was just air to fakie, cab 10, front 10, and then started doing different combinations of switch, cab 10, or in the front 10.
Yeah.
But I think, like, yeah, to answer your question, like, it was a really cool time, and I think now the level is so high in both fields where it's like, it's so cool. We had this like style war, and you know, and just like pushing it, and had a simpler format in a way right now where it's hard to almost tell some of these runs apart because they're so technical and people are really cramming so much into a run that it's almost hard to differentiate, you know, the style and the riders a little bit.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think your era was definitely somewhat of like a golden age because, yeah, what you're saying, I think there's a level of like, it was more pure to just put these people in the ring and just be like, yeah, you want to win, like boost, you know, like right now it's kind of like everyone's going max, right? But back then it was like, maybe I should just step up 5 feet and like charge, right? And just go that little bit higher.
For sure. And I think like now, like, yeah, I mean, you see a lot of guys really taking it so technical with doubles. And in my day, I grew up on a 13-foot trampoline circle, you know? So we were so good at doing a flips, but landing back on our feet. It was never like this idea of like trying to do a double flip on this little trampoline, you know? And now you have kids through Woodward Park and all this where, you know, like years later, I was watching Scotty James on the freaking trampoline. And I was like, whoa. If this kid could land half of these moves that he just did on a trampoline on a snowboard, like he's going to be really good.
Right.
And he did.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge part of it, you know, is like with today's progression is being really comfortable with like air awareness in doubles and triple corks, not just flips, you know?
Yeah. I do. That's to your point about trampolines and stuff. Like, I do like, I won't be that guy who like is an airbag hater or something like that. Like, I just don't think it's a good conversation.
I broke my ankle in an airbag. Airbag haters. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but you know what I mean? It's just kind of a dumb conversation, but I do miss the romance of just like what it took for us to learn double flips. And, like, cause I was in the era where like, you know, it was double time. Like that was like, as soon as we were like 18, that's when it just like, when I turned like around 18 and was like, actually like, all right, like, are you gonna like go, you know, move to Colorado and like be a real deal pro, like time to chuck your meat twice. So it was probably like 6 or 7 guys who had just started doing like doubles, you know, And I've like at a certain point I just had to do it. And like there was no, yeah, sure, I like went to a water ramp or whatever, but that stuff doesn't, you went to a water ramp 6 months ago and you did something off like plastic meanies, like,
into water.
Yeah, like it's not like it didn't really help your confidence at all, like yeah, and then at a certain point you're just like, all right, like here we go, and you just chuck a double. Like that stuff was pretty crazy. I don't know. It's a weird time.
So when did you start sliding rails in the streets? Like when did that? Because that was a huge thing for a while, right?
Yeah. So I like, after like, around the area I was just talking about at like 18, I was kind of at a place where I was like, all right, cool. Like I'm doing World Cups and half pipe and whatever. I got my run and like, it's fun. But like, I always say like my inspirations are my best friends, like the same way that like, I was just like down to surf and skate with my like 2 homies on Block Island. Like that's the only reason I was competing in half pipes, because like I ended up like having a couple people that I was competing against, and like it was a good time. But as soon as like that ended and I just moved to Colorado, I was like, there's literally no, like, even if it wasn't a matter of like, oh, you have a future in this, or I could have like done really well. I was just like, I don't have any homies who are gonna hike a pipe with me. I'm not doing that alone. It's just not what I'm about. Like, it completely goes against just the way I ski. I wish I was different. I wish I was just like, had the mentality to just completely be like that. I don't know, self-motivated. I'm pretty self-motivated, but I don't know. I just like, it just wasn't it for me. So I wasn't going to do it. And when I moved out there, a handful of my homies who I knew from back east were all like just starting to hit street, and they were taking it like pretty seriously. But as soon as I got introduced to it and I hit it like a couple handrails of them, I was like, yo, wait a minute. Like, I really feel like, I started like watching people's parts and shit. And I was like, everybody's just like complimenting their video parts of these and using them as a novelty. But like, this shit could be the real deal. And snowboarding was just starting to be like, oh, like, 60% of the video parts are street now, not backcountry.
For sure. Yeah,
it was that, like, and it was just a matter
heavy.
of like who's gonna like actually like learn how to like come up with enough variety of spots and tricks and like whatever to actually piece together a video part and put in the attention to have an opener and ender, like a halfway point, like tech stuff, big stuff, like trannies, closeouts, like whatever. It's just like, I was like, damn, we could like do that. And I just had, again, like I just had a couple friends who were game. One person particularly, Cam Riley, is one of my really close friends who lives in LA now, and is a cinematographer I still get to work with, luckily. But he was just like, didn't make any money, wasn't a pro at all, but he was just hitting huge spots, and we were like inspired by the snowboard like movies. We were watching like the Tech 9 guys around that time, like Magoon's Hard to Earn part came out, and we were like, no shit, like I want to do that, and I was like, all right, I just had homies around me doing it, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna do that. And like, I lost all my sponsors immediately. And
you
like,
did?
Yeah, I was, I was making like $5,000 a year or something. It didn't matter, like, whatever. But like, but
why?
all my momentum that I had, like going towards half pipe, was just like kind of gone. But I just was like, I'm just gonna make this video part this year, and I was stoked on it, and it was going well, and I just did it. And then the next year, I just totally restarted like a completely different career, pretty much.
Was that the video that went viral?
No, you might be thinking of my mutiny part. That's like the thing that is kind of my claim to fame, that I really like kind of put all my eggs in one basket, so to speak, on. But no, that was like years later. I had a stretch of like 5-6 video parts, like up until there's with that somewhere in the middle, where I was really just like on one and like, had things that I was really proud of. But the first one I made was like, yeah, it was fine. But it was like, I made a part that was 100% street. And I think, and it wasn't just me, like me and a number of my homies did that, like no filler switch 5 in the backcountry, like not one of them, like no bullshit, like, yeah, maybe we had like a park trick or something like that, but it was a street movie with like 6 of us, and we all did nothing but hit handrails, and people were down. So, it kind of started a new thing.
When did, at this point, are you filming these videos for X Games Real Snow? No,
that didn't exist at all at that point. Yeah, no, because I mean, street literally wasn't, for skiing at least, wasn't like a thing that was like this is like you make a video part that's 100% street. That was what we brought for sure. At
that point, it wasn't even like, oh, I could go win X Games gold in.
No, we I don't think snowboarding, real snow in general didn't exist at that point until because that like I made my first part in 2009. I think 2010 or 11 was when they first did the first
did you
year.
win?
When
You won
Pat Moore won it, I think, right? Or he did it. I don't know. I remember his part was crazy, but
You won gold in 2016.
no, I'm bronze. Yeah,
Bronze.
One-time bronze medalist. Yeah.
Danny's got a lot of bronze medals.
I got
in
a
X
couple
Games.
bronzes.
Yeah.
Yes, nothing like a bronze to really.
Hey, if you're on the podium, you're on the podium. You know.
Yeah, no, I'm just.
Amen.
I'm very proud of it for sure.
Did you ever? This is one thing a lot of people don't know, but did you ever like street? You know, like going out and doing street rails. A, it's freezing cold. B, you're in the street, so you are on public property. Did you ever get arrested dealing with police? Like,
we got a good amount of tickets, but that was kind of that's like part of the skill. That's what's so sick about street. It's like no, I got sat down a bunch. I never got like handcuffed though. You know, like we got in trouble all the time, but like we'd run and hide or whatever, and like just I mean that's the like one of the best parts about it is like. Just if it actually ironically feels like super intellectual because you're just like how the hell am I gonna make this video part like illegally, you know, and
right,
and it's exciting, obviously, all that childish like like you're running from the police, all that's fun, but also just like no, like I showed up to this spot, there's only this city, I got 10 days, like you know, schools are for like the weekends or nights, or like, you know, if this is a business area, like, you know, heads up first, they will have security 24/7, or like, where are the cameras? Like, are we, you know, what is the liability of this place? Like, are we going to get arrested if we do it? Is that worth it or not? You know, and like all that stuff is just like, you know, there's so much more obviously before you get your skis on. It's really exciting.
That's what's really cool about it, like the whole street scene, right? Because there's a lot that goes behind the scenes that people don't really understand, right? Like, like we would do rail trips, and I remember there'd be times where I was like, man, this is weird. Like I'm so used to X Games and all these fancy lights, and now here I am, 4 a.m.
It's very humble.
Well, you're just out there with like trying to like muscle the smallest amount of speed into something where they're really like, you know, you either got a crappy drop-in ramp or whatever.
Yeah.
And you got to find those spots, right? So it's like you're searching for these places. Yeah, there's some that are like, you know, almost those iconic kind of rails that everyone will go to throughout the season. But like you mentioned the city stuff. So were you guys like hunting storms and going to like certain cities? Like what were some of the better cities you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I just love North America. There's a lot more snow, honestly, in North America when I was doing
That's what I was gonna get at. It's me and you had this conversation. I believe a few months ago. The cities that you grew up and the cities that like like some people look for storms to come into Colorado or Alaska. You're looking for storms to come into Boston. You're looking for storms to come into New York. You're looking for storms to come into Minnesota. You're looking to like you're looking for like the storms you're looking at, the cities you're looking at are completely different than most people. But it doesn't snow as much in cities anymore, does it?
I mean, no. I mean, from what I've noticed, it's significantly less, and you know, mainly I'd say Denver is one of the best like examples because it's always been like pretty high and dry up there. And when I was first you know, doing this stuff around that same time, we had like a year where it was snow for 3 months straight. There was like 1.5 feet, 2, you know, maybe 3 feet of snow at one point, and now it's like just it'll snow and it's gone immediately. And yeah, I mean, it happens for sure, but yeah, there was a lot. I mean, maybe I got lucky in a way too, where, you know, I think I did, you know, where there's just some good years, but yeah, I haven't definitely noticed that it's not the same.
It's crazy, right? Yeah. What do you think? Why do you think that is?
I mean, I would attribute it to climate change for sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's also, I'm a small, you know, I don't want to overstep because, you know, that's a pretty small experiment of 10 years or so that I'm talking about. But
yeah, but it's also it's an experiment. You did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone would know,
I can say for sure that I've noticed it. Yeah, exactly. But no, the chasing storms in general is just, that shit was cool. I mean, and weird. And like you said, humble, like, or I said that, but to your point about just being like, yeah, like, you know, you probably dug, you know, being like, all right, it's go time, like time for my run, you know, right? Like,
I mean, I thrived off of obviously like the fans and spectators.
Yeah.
Like it was such a cool thing to where like I would really play it pretty easy in a lot of practices, and I had long hair, so a lot of people would be like, whoa, that girl's like pretty good at snowboarding, you know? And then like, you know, and then I would really like find that energy to like bust out. But there's definitely those times where you're like searching and, you know, trying to fill a video part in the sense too, right? Where, you know, we had I think one of my funnest like rail trips was to like Quebec. I think.
Yeah, Quebec
it
is
was
sick.
It was just really cool. Like the scene there, the local snowboarders who we were getting to ride with.
Quebec City or Montreal? And
I think it was
right?
Montreal.
Yeah.
They were all speaking French there. I know that.
Yeah.
And but it was just so cool to like go to some of these spots that I'd seen and then hit them, like the Olympic Park, and they're just like so many iconic places, you know. But it was like just a full week of just driving around and looking for things to jump on or slide down. And yeah, and it's just like, I really give a lot of credit to those guys who put those parts together because of like the creativity that comes into it too. Like you mentioned Lucas, you know, before, and he was one of the people, you know, that we got to ride with through Grenade. And, you know, like he brought this whole energy to snowboarding that I got to see as like coming out of competition and filming stuff and just being a part of snowboarding. But then seeing the way he would look at parks and rails and, you know, like in the streets was just like, whoa, this is so cool. It's like a combination of like, you know, skate creativity and jibbing, right? But it's not just like one mega rail trick done. You know, it was like, boop, pop off this, dink this thing, a little bonk over here, and then it's like then sliding through it, you know?
Yeah, you hunt for those people who you can just be like, you know, they just bring something that you're just like, how was that so stand out? And like that's, you know, that's that spot, you know. But I don't know, it's there's so much study that goes into street, like at least for me. I'm a try hard, like I don't know, that's someone like Lucas might, I feel like that stuff just fell out of him, you know what I mean? He's like a savant, you know.
Lots of things fall out of him.
But like I would just watch like all the snowboarders a lot, for sure. And we, like me and my buddy Cam, we watch every single snowboard movie, and we'd find the spots on Google Maps, you know, or we'd ask, you know, we had snowboarder friends, we'd ask where those were, you know, and then along the way you find stuff on your own. But yeah, the whole thing, you know, was, it just takes a lot, man. It's crazy. And I mean, you drive around, I mean, we drive around the country all year. Like we stopped buying ski passes, you know, for real. Like it would snow, and first place it would snow, it might be like some years it was Boston, and we all lived in Colorado at the time, and we'd just be like, all right, let's go. And it'd be like, you know, November 1 or whatever, and we're like, we're going to Boston, and we just throw the like winch, bungees, whatever, we'd load up, just drive to Boston, and we just start staying in hotels and just like that until literally the end of March, you know, just like all year. And then we'd go like to Chicago, and then it'd snow in Boston, we'd go back to Boston, and then we'd go to Quebec, and then we'd try like Toronto, and then it'd snow in Minnesota, and we go to Minnesota, and then snow Boston again, and we'd be like, fuck it, let's go back to Boston, you know. And then like sometimes, and then, you know, I was also shooting with Poor Boys and like Teton Gravity Research guys for other video parts, and I'd hop in the plane and fly to Spokane, Washington, shoot there for a week, you know, come back. It was just like, I only hit street. Like it was kind of ridiculous.
It's kind of funny because like you think about it, like growing up where, you know, you have this idea where you're excelling at skiing, you know, and it's like, okay, I'm going to do this professionally. But then what you don't realize is like how much you work off of a ski resort, right? Like for filming parts, it's like you're literally not in a park or on a ski hill.
No, we spent a lot of time in Dunkin' Donuts. Like that's pretty much like what being a pro skier was. Like, we'd like, and like not even like, it's like a weird phenomenon, but like we would, because again, we're like staying in hotels or like whatever. A lot of times we wouldn't have a home hotel. We'd check out of our hotel and we'd just be on the road. Yeah. So we'd like be like, all right, we found this night spot. We're going to hit that at night. Cam's going to hit that tonight, or whatever's going to hit that tonight. We got nothing to do in the meantime, and we just like go to Dunkin' Donuts, man, and just sit there for like 4 hours. People, we loiter, like literally, you know, like it's just like, that's it, man. It's being pro. That's it for me. It's glorious.
So you made a career in front of the camera, and now you are a filmmaker, a real filmmaker. You made a couple short films this year with Monster, Finding Monsters. Finding Monsters, yeah. I thought the name was genius. You did Tucker and Lizzie. How did that come about?
You know, I mean, I guess to explain that thoroughly, I'd have to explain how, you know, my state as a filmmaker right now. And I've transitioned like along the way. I don't know, like 5 years ago, I made a film for ESPN about a skier, Torniator Wallace, that got some recognition, and I kind of from there really launched a career as a filmmaker. And now I do a lot of commercials, I do documentaries, I dabble around in a number of different spaces as a filmmaker. And so yeah, you know, as that part of my career developed, I just wanted to try to bring Monster into the, you know, and try to get my sponsors involved in it, Monster especially. And, you know, I just looked at their roster and was like, hey, there's so many incredible stories in here that I feel like, you know, I would love to try to start accessing if there's opportunity and people want to see that, you know, and they did. So, you know, I kind of just fished through the roster and tried to find a couple people who I was like, I'm from a strange place and I know what that feels like. Kind of goes back to this, you know, the story that I was telling earlier and we were all talking about, you know, like what a risk it is when you're young, you know, to you know, go out and give this a shot, right? And how hard that must be on our parents and as well as difficult for us. And yeah, so I was just like, who has the best example of these and who can I tie together and try to kind of make a through line of characters that are experiencing that. And yeah, I pitched it to Monster. They loved it. We did it. So it's pretty cool.
Talking story is pretty crazy, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, like, you know, I complain about being, you know, from Block Island. It's like, he didn't know how to speak English. Like, you know, it's great. Like I got a really close friend who's from Czech Republic, who's he fixes dents for a living out here, but like he tells his story about just being like, yeah, I just visited LA and I was like, I do not want to go home, and he just stayed here and like he didn't know how to speak English, and I'm like, yo, that is insane, you know, like I don't know, I it blows my mind that, you know, how much we take that for granted, but people just come out here and send it. So yeah, I thought that was pretty inspiring and pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool, man, because when we met a few years ago, and then when I found out about your story and then moving to LA and wanted to become a filmmaker again, you've gone into the unknown, right?
Yeah.
Like how scary is it? A boy from an island of 900 people, people, and then going and having a ski career, and then being like, all right, you know, I've learned how to filmmake. I want to be a filmmaker. You fell in love with the process of being a cinematographer and everything. And then you moved to one of the biggest cities in the world, one of the most scariest places in the world. Even for me, when I did that, when I was like, I was 18 or 19 when I first started hanging in LA, and I was just like, fuck. But I was like drawn to what it had to offer. And I think, again, I was like, man, like, and then when I found out some of the work you'd done and you'd been doing, and it's quite admiring, and I admire like what you've done. It's again, you've gone and pushed through the hardness. I bet that move to LA was probably harder than the move when you were a kid.
Yeah, I mean, no, I appreciate that, man. I mean, yeah, I definitely doubled down, you know, but I mean, I think all of us get put in that situation, you know. What do you want to be when you grow up? When you're 13 and you go this, right? And then you do it, and then 10, 15 years later, like, all right, what do you want to be when you grow up? You're like, what the fuck, you know? That's so not cool, kind of. But like, I mean, I don't know. I also never thought of it as like, oh, you know, what am I going to do once my money runs out? I hate when people have that conversation with me. I hate when nerdy dudes come up with me and they're like, it was very smart of you for, you know, coming up with a new form of income after, you know, you can't ski forever, you know. I'm like, that is not what fucking happened at all. Yeah. I just got obsessed with skiing, or with filmmaking, just the same as I caught the bug with skiing. And so I just loved it so much that I did something reckless, just like I did in the first place, to go skiing, you know. Yeah. What I mean, it had absolutely no, like, if you actually were to look at it on a page, it had no financial logic at all. It was in fact a bad idea, you know. Man, it's like, that's what's life. I love that shit.
Yeah, most people that are saying that too probably, you know, live in a simple life, and that's fine. You know, people can do the ABC and whatever it's meant to be, or the box you're meant to be.
Not hating on that, but I just, it's like,
I am. Fuck them. No, it's fine, but it's
a misunderstanding.
Yeah, man, you're a creator and you want to continue to create. You know what I mean? You created on your skis. You made movies your whole career, and you're like, no, I want to go to the big stage, and this is what I love. And now you've made, you know, mini films and commercials, and you're working with big companies. What's for you? What's your ultimate goal in where you want to go with filmmaking?
I definitely am working my way towards trying to make feature narrative films. I mean, that's kind of the end goal for everybody. So, it's kind of a tough thing to talk about, I think, because everybody wants that, obviously. And it's kind of like, well, what does that look like? And the same way as becoming a pro athlete, it's extremely competitive. It's extremely scrappy. You have to find your own route. There's no way to do it, there's no by the book way to do it. But right now I do have a screenplay that I can't talk too much about, but it's gotten option, which means it has financing, it has momentum, it has producers attached and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens with stuff like that. But in the meantime, like, I don't think too much about like where I want to go with it, the same way that I was able to think on my feet and pivot about like, wanting to be, a pro surfer, that just led me to say, fuck it, what about skiing, which led me to half pipe, and then which led me to fuck it, what about street, and I loved every stage of that. And that was, what allowed success, is me not goal setting and getting overly fixated on something. I think that the process of success is more around focusing on what you don't want to do than what you do want to do. Like, if you're like, I want to be this, I want to be a pro athlete, then it's like, do you really like the process of becoming a pro athlete? Like, I couldn't, for example, do I want to be a competitor? Do I want to win the X Games, right? Yeah, I definitely wanted to win the X Games. Did I like competing like under pressure in front of a crowd? Not really. I would choke. It'd stress me out. Like, I'd almost like throw up pretty much, Do I like being with my homies in the freezing cold at 4 a.m., like shoveling and hanging out Dunkin' Donuts and trying to make like the best video part? Fucking loved that shit. I don't know why, but I loved that shit. I just love focusing way too much energy on like this big masterpiece that I'll say when it's done. You know what I mean? Like, and same with like a spot. Like, I'll say when I'm done getting this trick, like I might get it twice, and I might get it once, but it's not good enough, and try it again. Like, I just love to be able to have that freedom of expression, So, I mean, full circle when it comes to filmmaking, I'm just like, I love making commercials right now. I have great reps that are like, a big agency that puts me up for jobs all the time. And, I always thought that there was a time when I was like, I'll never do commercials. They're, stupid. And now I have a blast doing them, and they're good practice. And so I don't know, we'll see where we go, but I'm just ready to think of my toes and just keep doing my best every time I have an opportunity in front of me.
That's what I'm going to call a mic drop. So what we have is Danny at the end of these does what we call a lightning round. You got like 3 seconds, 2 seconds to answer these questions. He works very hard on these questions. He thinks about the process, and he puts a lot into this. So just,
I usually freestyle.
Don't get nervous. just say what comes off the top of your head.
Okay.
Who is the best movie director?
Martin Scorsese.
What's your favorite pump up ski video?
Hard Air and Lucas Begin.
Nice. And what's more important, style or hard tricks?
Style.
What about now that you're a filmmaker? Are you like, come on, let's do a hard trick?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. You know what? I would just say, for that, I would say the opposite. I would say I want people to go big and be gnarly.
Sick. Gnarliest freeskier of all time?
Ooh, Cam Riley.
Most overused word in your vocabulary?
But.
Which a pretty good one. But.
Oh, but like the two T's.
Not
or the
like my butt. Like but.
Oh, okay.
Because I won't shut up, so I just keep going. But.
Okay.
But
Yep.
then. But this. But that.
What's the best thing about living in LA?
Serving.
That's for sure, huh? Coming from Block Island. Do you believe in aliens?
Yes.
Yes.
We got one.
We've got one. Finally, no one else believes in aliens. I'm like, you sure? If you had a monster flavor, what would it taste like?
The ocean.
Oh, that's so sick. You're
It
like,
would sell horribly.
like call it like the surf slam.
Yeah, everyone's like,
just like,
cool. This is terrible.
Cool. Those are all the questions I have for you, and you aced it.
Nice.
Boom.
10 out of 10.
10 out of
Clayton
10.
Vila, Monster Energy Freeskier. That's a wrap.
Yeah,
Thanks for joining
coming
us,
in.
dude.
Yeah, dude. That was really fun.
Yeah.
It's good hanging with you guys.
Unleashed with the Dingo and Danny. Fueled by Monster Energy.